Good morning and welcome to Asante Blowout on Asante Television Network. This is a syndicated live program of the network featuring chit-chatting and conversation on special interest topics, news, events and stories through correspondence reports, expert opinion and stakeholders analysis. For the headlines we're discussing today, in FCT, the police to charge vandals with attempted murder. The 2025 budget, NAS has threatened to stop FG's grants to JAM. And also from the National House of Assembly, reps fume as customs immigration shun investigative hearing. From the power sector, we can't guarantee ends to frequent grid collapse from Adela Boo. And the security, IGP charges officers to improve anti-crime strategies. And finally, from the United States, lawyer resigns, flees before Trump's inauguration. We are open for advert placements, bookings, and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials on Facebook and YouTube, on Asante Television Network on Instagram and TikTok, on Asante TV Network 1 on Twitter, on Asante TV Net, which is live on our website at www.asante.net.work.tv. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, we will continue the story in details. To stay with us.
The board, management and staff of Morrison Media Group invite to her Atlantic Television Network Town Hall meeting on the 2025 budget with an expenditure framework of 49.7 trillion naira, projected revenue of 34.82 trillion naira, and a budget deficit of 13.08 trillion naira, representing 3.89% of GDP and debt servicing with 15.81 trillion naira. The distinguished chairmanship of Right Honorable O.K. Chinda Esquire, DSSRS Minority Leader, House of Representatives, National Assembly. Keynote Speaker Dr. Chinyere Igwe Esquire, FSM, FIMC, FNIMN, MNIM, ARPA, MIPPA, legal practitioner, author, broadcaster, policy expert, and chairman, Morrison Group. Presenters on the thematic focus areas of the 2025 budget, debts and economy growth focus, Professor Silva Okwala Charles, President, Garden City Premier Business School. Security, funding for military, paramilitary and police forces to secure the nation and protect borders, Stanley Sofo, security experts. Agriculture, enhance support for farmers with funding and input to boost productivity and ensure food security, Dr. Nnemeka Obiari, development economist and investment banker. Human Capital Development, Education and Healthcare Investment, Dr. Emmanuel Iroyema, Management Consultant, Job Creation, Public and Private Partnerships for Infrastructure Development, Mr. Pat Obiene. Date is Saturday, 25th January 2025. Venue, Dimeji Bankole Hall, Gate Place Hotel, Kilometer 5 East-West Road, adjacent Obiri Quarry Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt, by 12 noon prompt. Please note that the meeting is a worldwide live streaming program of Atlantic Television Network. Call Michael Favor on 0813-245-6678, Laurentia Ogu on 0818-344-6746 for attendance booking, partnership and sponsorship. Media partners: Wish 99.5 FM PH and Excel International Magazine.
From the lands across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN. From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
nobody's ambition is what
I have fought very firmly.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
The board, management and staff of Morrison Media Group invite to her Atlantic Television Network Town Hall meeting on the 2025 budget with an expenditure framework of 49.7 trillion naira project.
Welcome back. Joining us to discuss those stories for today is no other than Musan Mufasa. He's a public affairs analyst and a social media commentator. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, Oscar.
Mufasa.
Mufasa, I'm so sorry. Thank you for joining us.
It's always a pleasure to be here. I think Happy New Year will be in order.
Yes, Happy New Year to
First
you.
time of being on the show this year, 2025. Always nice seeing you.
It's a pleasure to have you here with us. Displeased with recent activities of manhole cover thieves in the nation's capital, Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory FCT Security Council has decided to charge arrested suspects with attempted murder and or economic sabotage, lamenting that the current punishment as contained in extant laws do not really serve as a deterrent. The council also placed a 2-week ban on the activities of scrap and recycled products dealers in order to be able to profile them. Commissioner of Police in the FCT, Tunji Disu, disclosed this on Monday after a Security Council meeting chaired by the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. According to him, scavenging has also been banned in the FCT, especially in the city centers, adding that the activities will only be limited to dump sites. During the course of the meeting, the issue of vandalism of public infrastructure came up again and again. At the end of the meeting, this decision was arrived at. Everybody arrested for vandalizing public infrastructure will be charged to court. Not only will they be charged to court, they will be charged to court for economic sabotage, because we have noticed that whenever we charge them to court, the punishment given to them is so small that we notice that we have been recycling these criminals, he stated. The activities of the vandals are enough to kill residents of the Federal Capital Territory because they remove all these manholes, and while driving at night, you may not know that they have been removed and it is capable of causing death. So they will be charged for economic sabotage and even at times, if possible, attempted murder or murder. Quickly, Mufasa, I want to get your thoughts concerning this from the police over vandals. Do you agree with the charge put in case of this manhole of vandals that has been going on in the FCT and every part of the country, that there should be a charge for attempted murder? You know, yes, we know that. Yeah, I've actually been into a scenario where at night I was walking past, I was taking a walk by the road, and then I did not see that open manhole. You know, it can actually cause death. You know, some people could just fall into it, hit their head, or probably die on the spot, you know, and what's not. But do you agree with this instance that the charges put on these vandals should be attempted murder or murder?
I think it's really unfortunate, the activities of these so-called manhole cover stealers or thieves. You know, it has become a national menace because, as far as I'm concerned, we are equally facing the same challenges over here in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, and the rest part of the country. But we have to consider the fact that, you know, even in Abuja, the seat of power, you know, we could still be hearing, you know, these people still holding sway is quite mind-boggling. But looking at the position of the commissioner and the charges that he has proposed, because for me, I will consider it as a proposal, you know, you cannot do anything outside the provisions of the law. You know, sadly so, in as much as, like you rightly said, when you remove the manhole cover, most of which are situated on the pedestrian walkway, it could actually lead to the death of unsuspecting passerby, but you cannot outrightly charge somebody that steals a manhole cover for murder unless it is instituted in our laws, so that's where, a little, misgiving, can be deduced from, because even if you charge the suspect to court, I'm sure you are aware that they have a right to legal representation. And part of the arguments that will be put forward by their own legal team or legal counsel will be the fact that what are the provisions of the law as penalties for economic saboteurs, and the likes, So these are the issues. So if I would want to advise, not just in the FCT alone, but in the rest part of the country, there has to be stringent legislative provisions that will stipulate the actual punishment. If it is agreed upon by the state, of course, represented by the lawmakers, that manhole covers should be treated as murderers, then it has to be put in our rule books. And I'm sure that that would equally serve as a deterrent to, some of these people who don't really care about, the well-being of other people just because you want to eke out a living for yourself. It's really unfortunate and sad and pathetic. So going forward, it's a good thing that the state command, talking about the FCT, has risen up to the occasion by saying that enough is enough. It's another thing for our lawmakers to also consider the proposition made, because it's not yet a law, and something that is not a law cannot be executed, no matter how how fantastic it may seem. But we cannot do anything outside the provisions of our laws.
Okay, thank you on that, Mufasa. Well, according to the story, it has been scavenging has been bad already. Isn't that enough to curb this manhole thieves than putting a charge on anyone that gets arrested, over the murder issue? Since it has been bad already, is there still needs to put a charge over
No,
it?
well, for me, I belong to the school of thoughts that states it's better to prevent a crime from happening than to even want to fight it in the first instance. Okay, when you have these kind of activities still holding sway in the seat of power, Abuja for that matter, it's like I've said before, it's disturbing, because I'm aware there was a certain time that the monies were budgeted for CCTV cameras to be installed on the streets of the FCT. Of course, it shouldn't be in the FCT alone, because there's no reason why even on the streets of the major towns and cities in Nigeria we don't have CCTV cameras mounted, so that you can be able to monitor the activities of some of these criminal elements. Okay, so these are the issues.
So you feel having the CCTV cameras mounted at almost every point in the state would help to monitor the activities of these vandals?
Exactly, that's what is obtained.
In what instance?
Now, if you want to look at how things are done, I don't want to use the word civilized crime, because that would be an insult to Nigeria, because I believe we are civilized people and we should do things like civilized people. But let us look at how things are done in Europe and America, and some parts of Africa that give much importance to security. These CCTV cameras, when mounted, you have people who monitor these cameras 24/7. So if there is a suspicious movement, you nipped it in the bud already, because in as much as you have cameras mounted, you have street lights on the ground, before the person attempts to even remove that manhole cover, the person will be apprehended, simple and short. So if that is done, and 1, 2, 3, 4 persons have been apprehended, and the full weight of the law brought upon that person, I'm sure these things will be reduced to the barest minimum.
Quickly, I want to make a statement. Do you know that these manhole vandals are the scavengers that I don't want to sound in a kind of way, but most of them are from the north, if we notice, and then most of them do not have houses where they stay. They do not have any means of identification, and oftentimes they steal these manholes at night. You know, what is the possibilities that this monitoring team will apprehend them on the spot while they're actually doing this vandalism in the process?
Now, assuming you have CCTV camera mounted at a strategic location, of course, when somebody is making a suspicious movement, the person monitoring that particular camera knows when and how, you know, to wade into such situation. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you have a house, whether you have an identity. The thing is that you've been caught trying to steal what belongs to the government and the people, and by so doing, you are putting other people in harm's way. So if we are saying today that we need CCTV camera to be mounted on strategic location, I can tell you for free that it will go a long way to curb the menaces of what these people do. I really do not want to believe that, you know, because they come from the north, the south, or the east and all of that, that they cannot be controlled. What we need is a government that has the strong will and determination to reduce this crime to the people. How come other people are succeeding in reducing crime in their locality?
Countries.
Yeah, so
that was why I made the statement of most of these vandals do not have identities. There's no means of identification. You talked about this apprehending them on the spot and whatnot. Oftentimes, these monitoring teams, they will have officers that will not be close to this locations that has been, you know, in order to apprehend, do this arrest in time. And like I said, most times these things are done at night, and there are streets that actually do not have that the traffic lights, I mean the street lights, you know, so they often go to those positions where you cannot see them. You know, I understand where you are coming from, but maybe stronger materials should be used, that they cannot be able to, you know, remove them. I'm sure you saw the video, that the video of the manholes that were destroyed. You know, how we can't really guess how they pull those things out.
No, the thing is,
you know, if they were actually used good, stronger materials that cannot be, you can say yes, they have machines that they can use to remove that. Yeah, because I'm trying to read your mind. That's what you're going to say.
No matter how strong the material is, it's even better for them. The stronger the material, the more valuable it is for them. You know, what I'm saying is these people can't be contained if we have a strong will to contain them.
Okay.
We have lights on the street. We have policemen stationed at tradition. That is what the police are meant for. These are criminals. You know, whether they are stealing manholes or they are putting the lives of people in harm's way and all of that, they are criminals. And if we have a well-structured system that is well positioned to control crime, these things can be controlled. After all, we go to Europe and America and we see how they do things there. It's not rocket science. So let us not try to give excuses by saying that this and that and all of that. The thing is, where there is a will, there is a way. Before you begin to charge people for murder and all of that, like I said before, they have lawyers. They will tell you what is the penalty for stealing of manhole according to our laws. You cannot charge somebody that steals manhole for murder, because the lawyer will give you reasons why it will not fly.
It's an act of attempted murder. No, you know, I gave you an instance about what happened to me at 19.
I agree. I know of somebody who was falling inside a manhole before, but of course, you didn't die. You know, you did not die. So unless somebody is caught in the act of killing somebody, you cannot just, you know, apprehend a man who cover a thief and you charge him for murder. You know, lawyers will come up with logics and all of that. So unless it is clearly written in our in our laws, and it's stipulated that if you are caught or apprehended stealing manhole, these are the penalties that you face, and the penalty you face will be that will be such a way that it will, you know, it will be, you know, I don't know, maybe it will be placed side by side with somebody who has committed murder.
Okay,
maybe that is when we can ask, okay, let it pass and fly like
officer,
that.
I would love to ask, you made mention of the police that the control movements, you know, the monitor movement also. You know, most of those police at night, you see them at checkpoints doing stop and search, you know, checking particulars and whatnot, identification, IDs and all of that. You know, at times when this vandals go through this process of doing all of that, you know, destroying these properties, do the police not see them? Do they not, you know, see all of this that goes on, you know, around them? Because they always have checkpoints where they are mounted on.
Yeah, that's a very fantastic question. You know, these people don't go on vehicles. They go on their foot.
Yes.
Some of them, when you see them, you cannot even differentiate between them and a mad person. You know, these are some of the issues that the government also need to control. When you see somebody carrying a sack bag and the person is just walking aimlessly, claiming to be a scavenger and all of that, it is the responsibility of the state, in this case the police or whatever agency that is saddled that responsibility, to call this person and begin to ask certain questions. If this is what you do for a living, at this particular point in time, is this when you're supposed to go about looking for scraps, metals and all of that? So it is also the responsibility, like I've said before, of the police to question these people. You know, they are not, you can't see them on stop and you can't see them where they do stop and search. You know, even if you see them carrying the sack bag, they tell you that they are scavenging for scrap metals and all of that.
So they don't search them.
You want to search inside their bag?
So would they rather search cars and ask, do you what kind of work do you do to own
a vehicle and all of that? So, you know, the long and short of the matter is, we need to define where our priority lies as a people and agents of government.
Okay.
This can be controlled if there is a strong and determined will to control it. It's simple and short.
Thank you on that, Mufasa. Well, joining us also to discuss more of the stories is no other than Young Ayo Tamano. He's a State Director, National Orientation, former State Director, National Orientation Agency in River State. Please, can you correct me so I know how to address you, sir?
It's better to say that it's a retired
public. Okay, he's a retired public servant. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, sir. Welcome.
And
happy New Year to you. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, sir.
Good morning. Just to add.
Okay.
You know, I like adding.
All right. Oh, you can add to this.
Yeah, I can add to the ongoing discussion.
Okay.
I think it has to also do with the issue of ownership. Ownership. Of course, we are talking about the FCT, but the development or the scenario, the storyline virtually affects all cities, especially those that are heavy in terms of infrastructural placements.
Okay.
And while we are talking about the city, you know that we also have it here. So much of it's vandals, in fact, removing manholes, and doing all kinds of things. In some of these cases, when you look at it, you begin to wonder if the immediate beneficiaries, because most of these projects are situated around communities, what is the level of ownership beyond perhaps profiling such communities at the inauguration of such projects? So what is the role of the community, and to what extent does government partner with those communities? If you look at all the flyovers that we have, the wire mesh,
they
have removed virtually all of them, and even some of them, not just removing, but you also find out that grasses have overgrown, you know, that is the inside of those wire meshed areas. So again, we were, in his discussion, he was talking about why is it that these things don't happen in other climes. Yes, in other climes it may not happen. We also have to look at our own security architecture.
Okay.
You talked about the police. Of course, there's a limit to which the police can go. The police is trying in terms of stop and search. Because they stop taxis, they search people, especially, they most often, pride on the psychology of the people that they confront.
Okay.
They look at the taxi, they bring out, they look at the way you look and everything, and then they bring you out and they begin to search.
Okay, they search people based on the way they look.
Yes, which
okay.
rights activists.
Not like this, they search everybody.
Yes, which rights activists have also contested. That it's a violation of people's rights.
Okay.
But in some cases, within their rules of engagement, it also allows them, the Police Act also allows them, if there's any suspicion, of the likely commission of any offense, that they can also conduct such search. So that in itself is there. Now, while I'm not exonerating them, I want to look at the involvement of communities and the protection and the crimes that we just mentioned. Their police system is so flexible.
Okay.
But here, in time past, we talked about neighborhood security work, and that in itself was frustrated for some political reasons. Attaching political reasons to the neighborhood security watch program.
Okay.
But I think it is time we brought back that concept and see how the young people, vigilantes, because the vigilantes are there in most communities.
Okay.
In fact, the scenario that we have now is that most communities have community gates. Most enclaves have community gates. So to what extent can we bring some of these boys
involved in
protection of
those properties?
Because we need to involve everybody.
Okay.
And make them have a sense of belonging that this infrastructure that you're seeing
is for
everybody and serves their own interests.
Thank you so much. And that retired the National Assembly Joint Committee on Finance on Monday threatened to stop the federal government grants to the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board in the 2025 budget proposal. The position of the committee was informed by the presentation made by JAMB Registrar Prof. Isaka Oloyede, who appeared before the Joint Committee of the Senate and House of Representatives to defend the agency's 2025 budget proposal. Giving a breakdown of the performance of the JAMB's 2024 budget, Oloyede said the agency remitted 4 billion naira to the Consolidated Revenue Fund, while it got a grant of 6 billion naira from the federal government. These did not go down well with the committees as members Abiodun Faleke and Senator Adanto Shimole, APC Edo, questioned why a self-funding agency should be getting allocations from the federal government. You spent 1.1 billion naira on meals and refreshments. Are you being freely fed by the government? What this means is that you are spending the money you generate from poor students, many of them orphans. You also spent 850 million naira on security, cleaning and fumigation in 2024. What did you fumigate? Is it mosquitoes that took all those money, Oshimole queried. The former Edo State governor also slammed JAMB for spending 600 million naira on local travels, even as he called on Oloyede to justify the 6.5 billion naira on local training. Quickly, retired Ayotamuno. I would love to get your thoughts on this. This is actually, well,
well, the story is very clear.
Okay.
Whatever the Senate is doing, it's a Senate committee. And so whatever the committee is doing is within their oversight responsibility, oversight function.
Okay.
As set out in, I think, Section 88 and then Section 89 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended. So they are doing what is right within their oversight mandates. But again, we have to go back to look at a whole lot of issues. First, while we have come to recognize JAMB as self-financing in the sense that I recall that before Oloyede came to the scene, that it was almost like deficits. At the end of the day, every year, the returns to the Federation accounts from JAMB was very minimal until he came to the scene. And since then, he has been able to at least maximize resources, cut down on expenses, and every year he also sends a quantum, sizable amount of money in billions back to the Federation accounts.
Well, they still get government grants.
Yes,
okay.
That's where I'm coming, because
okay.
I'm also surprised that JAMB still gets government grants. I thought that JAMB had long gone beyond this.
Okay.
But again, getting government grants, we also have to look at what is the purpose? What is the purpose? The social content, because we are talking about the social sector now, just like health and education. Is it to augment, is that grant meant to augment whatever JAMB is supposed to be raking in, you know, annually? Now, that is another issue, because if, especially when we talk about the social sector, oftentimes you have to look at the objectives, you know, that the goals that are achieved. And most times you find some measure of subsidy, subsidizing such services. But now that these issues have come up, there are some critical areas that Oshomola has mentioned. For instance, he talked about the issue of feeding, you know, over 800 and something million for feeding, and which he said, are you feeding now? Are you using poor people's money, orphans to feed, and the like, and then fumigation and others? But I quickly want to react to the fact that even before it got to this point, now that these issues have come up, some of these things are also political statements. We may not have gone into the nitty-gritty of the expenditure in terms of, you know, it might be feeding. Because one of the issues that was questioned is also that of training, you know, allocation through training. So I am believing that we also have another section that first and foremost should have dealt with this. Of course, the Office of the Auditor General, you know, accounts are audited every year. Can we also look at what the Auditor General's office had also written? Because the Constitution in Section 85 and 86 also gives ample powers to the Office of the Auditor General in terms of auditing the accounts, in terms of auditing the accounts of MDAs. So let us also look at it.
All right, thank you.
In line with that. Otherwise, we just take a sweeping statement, you know, by politicians that, look, the expenditure is this way or is that way. Let's look at the basics. What's the expenditure? What and what? It's not just to say for feeding, and then at the end of the day, if you're not careful, you criminalize public officers that have diligently done their jobs. But I think JAMB under Oloyede has really done well. Okay,
thank you on that. Mufasa, quickly, I'd love to get your thoughts concerning this. Please, what do you have to say?
Well, like what our Ogaya said, you know, the National Assembly, they have a duty to embark on, you know, oversight responsibility. And to that extent, they ought to demand accountability from, you know, people who are saddled with the responsibility to oversee government institutions. But my quarrel with some of these, you know, some of these actions is that it seems to be an unending drama, okay? And this is not the first time we are seeing this kind of probe panel. And to the best of my knowledge, I'm yet to see actions, punitive actions taken to, you know, maybe to serve as a deterrent or to also boost the efficiency of, you know, the said head of the Ministry of Departments and Agencies of Government. Now, let me even look at the purpose. Talking about purpose, what is the purpose of setting up JAMB? Is it for the agency to generate revenue to run the states, you know, or is for that body to organize a befitting, you know, examination process that will usher in students into higher institutions? Because there's no gainsaying the numerous challenges, you know, that students, people who are looking for admission into the universities are facing. You know, just in the recent times, they came up with computer-based and all of that, you know, and I can tell you for free that they've not been able to perfect it. We hear of network challenges. We hear of people not being able to sit for the exams. We hear of shortage of materials in terms of computers and all of that. And if all these monies are being earmarked for the agency to come up and organize a well, you know, a befitting process, then from outside the country, you get professionals who are grounded in tech, so that we can build a central system where if you register for the exams, you are in fact, you know that the process will be issue-free. Then we can begin to query the process if it fails, placing it side by side with the amount of money that the agency gets to run itself.
Okay.
But if we continue to put so much emphasis on how much the agency is bringing back to the coffers of government,
then
we'll be getting we'll be getting the whole thing mixed up somewhere. So that is my position. If the professor is queried on the process, how the process has been flawed by some of these things that, for me, it's not rocket science to set it up in a befitting manner, I'll be satisfied. But like I've said before, it's like an unending drama. You know, of course, they have a responsibility as, you know, the National Assembly to do oversight and all of that. And like I've also said, that I have actually not seen any head of government parastatals, whether it's a minister or something, you know, being slammed with punitive measures to serve as because they have to sit up.
To serve as detriment.
Yes, they have to sit up. If you are given a responsibility and you are giving money to ensure that you achieve what is desired of you to achieve in that responsibility, I do not think you have any excuse to give. But the moment you begin to put, you know, what the agency gets, in about agencies that, okay, the police, for instance, the customs service, you are giving them targets. You think they will take their primary responsibility seriously? What they will put in the front burner for them is how much they will be able to generate for the system. Whereas the entire process, the entire, you know, responsibility given to you is flawed. So that is my angle to the you know, the discussion.
Okay. Thank you on that, Mufasa. Well, still on the National House of Assembly, because we're still going to talk about the National House of Assembly issue. The House of Representatives Committee on Customs and Excise expressed disappointment on Monday over the refusal of heads of government agencies to attend an investigative hearing Lawmakers criticized the absence, citing Section 8(8) of the Constitution, which empowers Parliament to invite individuals to provide explanations. The investigation focuses on the concession of the e-custom project to the Trade Modernization Project and Web Frontiers' role in the e-custom framework. The committee, alongside the House Committee on Interior, had invited the Minister of Interior, Comptroller General of Customs, Comptroller General of the Nigerian Immigration Service, and other stakeholders to the investigative hearing on the modernization of the Nigerian Customs Service. The House, at 2 sittings, had ordered the committees to investigate it and the modernization project, like we stated, and the Nigerian Customs Service, and the role of Web Frontiers in the custom framework, as well as the need to employ modern technology to secure Nigerians' borders and address the challenges posed by illegal migration and border management. However, while the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, was said to be out of the country and could not attend the session with the lawmakers, no reason was given for the absence of the customs boss and his immigration counterparts. A member of the Committee on Customs, Awaji Ihombek Abiete, PDP Rivers, said the refusal of the head of agencies was an affront on the Parliament, adding that if they refuse to show on the next adjourned date, the committee and the Parliament should invoke its powers and recommend their removal from office. Still talking about the role the National House of Assembly plays in overseeing the affairs of certain agencies, departments, and ministries. You know, I'm sure we've been hearing about the smuggling issue and the border closure and being closed and not closed and all of that. Well, quickly, I'd love to get your thoughts concerning this. The fact that the House of Rep invited the 2 different bosses, the custom officer and the immigration, you know, to get an investigative hearing about the how the whole LCU has actually been going on, and none of them, you know, came up. Do you think there's something, you know, that has not, you know, been put out? Is there something that we should be asking? Are we supposed to be asking questions why none of them decided to, you know, accept the invitation that was given to them by the National House of Assembly?
Well, you know, there's a popular African proverb that says that when a snake loses its venom, you know, they use it as rope to tie firewood, you know. I think that's why some of these heads of department agencies of government are taking our lawmakers for granted, you know. We're in this country where a certain minister, I think the Minister for Social Welfare or so Humanitarian Affairs, was invited, and at a point as she was being interrogated, she got angry
and walked away. And
she said she's going to leave, that they don't have the right to, you know, to ask her such questions, you know. So these are the issues. That was why I said, until we begin to see some level of seriousness in our lawmakers while carrying out their oversight function, you know, we'll continue to be hearing this kind of stories. But then again, if you want to look at it on a more critical note, you know, that you invited the head of the immigration and customs, and you know, persons came to maybe represent them. You know, these are individuals, they could be directors and all of that, head of departments, that feels they have the knowledge of what is going on there. I'm also, you know, of the opinion that you know, they could have still, you know, engaged those people, because it is when the information that they need, those people, you know, could not provide, that is when it should become a problem. Let it not be that, oh, we have other engagements and we had to send people to represent us. I'm sure what they needed to know are, you know, the day-to-day runnings of the agency, and like they said, you know, issues that borders on what they call it, digital system in securing our borders. These are very important issues. I'm aware recently somebody came out to say that our borders, are very porous, and I'm sure it's not even coming as a new thing to some of us.
Because we were actually told that the borders were closed.
Yeah, we don't even have defined borders that will, point to and say this is our borders that is, manned by our people. If you go to some part of the north, some parts of the in the southwest. Even in South, in Cross River State, for instance, we have towns that are border towns that, you have influx of activities,
going
people going and
forth.
come out and all of that. They are not being checked and all of that. We are complaining of the high security, challenges that we're having in this country. So this is a very serious matter. That's why I said that, the committee that is saddled with this all-important responsibility could not go ahead with that probe. For me, is quite, it's satisfactory and embarrassing, because if we cannot, sit down to discuss the issues, especially that has to do with security, that has to do with bringing in of adulterated products, poisons and all of that, arms and ammunition, if we cannot take it seriously as a people, I wonder what we'll take seriously in this country.
Thank you, that was fast. Quickly, Ayotamano. Mr. Ayotamano, I'll call you Mr. Ayotamano.
All right.
Is it okay?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Okay to say that.
Yeah, first.
Well, I actually wanted to ask you a particular question. Do you think there was an ulterior motive for those heads not to attend the investigative hearing they were invited for? Because if we have plans to make the country a better place, all of us want to make sure that it's actually functioning, and then we're working towards it. When need arises, we want to put heads together and make sure, something is actually done about it. Coming from the custom officers and the generals and the immigration general not adhering to the invitation, do you think something was actually wrong there?
Well, from the... It's not that they did not honor. They did not honor in person.
Yes. But they were supposed to be there in person.
They sent their representatives.
There's something they talk about, hearing from the horse's mouth.
The representatives were not seen to be good enough.
Okay.
To the legislators.
Okay.
Because they wanted the person on whose table the buck stops to actually come forward. And if there's any, of course, if there's anything that could be said in terms of proving efficiency, in terms of collection of revenues, these are two very important agencies. One, while we look at the issue of the migrative or the movement of people in and out of the country, the other talks about the movement of goods and services in and out of the country, export, imports. And so we are also talking about the issue of revenue. Of course, the customs, they have their targets. Immigration also has its own targets. And you know how it's been practiced for some time now. They give you a target. At the end of the day, if you're able to meet that target, you deduct the administrative costs, operational costs, and then you pay. So, like he said, like Mufasa said, he said, we need to look at it. Are we prioritizing? The same question that we had on Jan also comes in here. What is our priority? But let me also say that two major organizations are involved, and we are talking about one minister. Because the story had it that Tunji Ojo, the Minister of Interior, he was not in the country and so couldn't have attended. But the last time I checked, I think Customs is under the Ministry of Finance. Customs is supposed to be under the Ministry of Finance. I'm surprised that heads of those agencies are being invited on a very crucial investigative hearing, or not investigative hearing, budget defense or whatever it is, investigative hearing without the Minister of Finance. Perhaps since everybody is talking about budgets, he's also very busy with his planning and budget counterparts.
Okay.
Having said that,
Ministry of Finance, that should be Wale Dun, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, he has actually been invited, and then he said he wanted to get closed door conversation and not, you know, in the public. And we don't know the reason why he's saying that.
He has no place. He doesn't have that authority to decide.
He said he wanted a closed door communication.
And it was granted.
It was granted. So the question is, why would he ask for closed door, you know, communication with the committee and not in the open?
Well, closed door also, you can ask for it if the question that we are asked, you know, some of these things might need technical.
But this is what everybody wants to hear. Well, if they did not want the press to actually get to know about whatever conversation they were having.
I think it's somewhat a compromise.
Okay.
But what we believe is that it has to be in national interest.
Okay, so we should just be waiting for the second sitting to see if they will acknowledge it, because National Assembly actually wants them to come in person and not have a representative.
Yes.
So we'll just wait for the second sitting to see if
and you can be sure that at the second sitting they will come.
Okay.
And if they fail to come,
if they fail to come, there are constitutional provisions.
Yeah,
how many people that we have seen that have dishonored these National Assembly members and we saw them being penalized.
You know that
we are yet to see any.
The Constitution is very clear on some of these things. You know, I don't want to go into some other areas. In your explanation, you actually gave an African parable. And which I'm not going to contest. Of course, we have had investigative hearings. Of course, the power sector reform hearing.
Yeah.
You know, you saw how complicated
and at the end of the day it was.
Yes.
It went
at the end of the day, you saw how it went.
Yeah.
You also saw the Arumote.
Yes.
When she was in charge of the stock exchange.
Yes.
You also saw how that one went.
As it went.
So there used to be a quotation by one of our military officers. He said, when you allow yourself to be insulted, others will join you. So if you allow yourself,
thank you so much.
Yes, if you allow yourself to be insulted, others will join you. But that does not mean that they have the right to compel any person at all to appear.
They did not compel them. They were in.
No, but they have
the right to issue warrants.
Yes, now
to issue warrant, and the security organizations must execute that warrant.
Exactly.
And also, they have, if you go to that section 89, it's very clear that apart from issuing the warrants, whatever it takes to bring you, the cost of bringing it.
The board, management and staff of Morrison Media Group invites to her Atlantic Television Network Town Hall meeting on the 2025 budget with an expenditure framework of 49.7 trillion naira, projected revenue of 34.82 trillion naira, and a budget deficit of 13.08 trillion naira, representing 3.89% of GDP and debt servicing with 15.81 trillion naira. The distinguished chairmanship of Right Honorable O.K. Chinda Esquire, DSSRS Minority Leader, House of Representatives, National Assembly. Keynote Speaker Dr. Chinyere Igwe Esquire, FSM, FIMC, FNIMN, MNIM, 3rd, and Chairman, Morrison Group. Presenters on the thematic focus areas of the 2025 budget, debts and economy growth focus, Professor Silva Okwala Charles, President, Garden City Premier Business School. Security, funding for military, paramilitary and police forces to secure the nation and protect borders, Stanley Nsofo, security experts. Agriculture, enhance support for farmers with funding and input to boost productivity and ensure food security. Dr. Nnemeka Obiari, development economist and investment banker. Human Capital Development, Education and Healthcare Investment, Dr. Emmanuel Iroyema, Management Consultant, Job Creation, Public and Private Partnerships for Infrastructure Development, Mr. Pat Obiene. Date is Saturday, 25th January 2025. Venue, Dimeji Bankole Hall, Gate Place Hotel, Kilometer 5 East-West Road, adjacent Obiri Quarry Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt, by 12 noon prompt. Please note that the meeting is a worldwide live streaming program of Atlantic Television Network. Call Michael Favor on 0813-245-6678. Laurentia Ogu on 0818-344-6746 for attendance booking, partnership and sponsorship. Media partners: Wish 99.5 FMPH and Excel International Magazine.
Welcome back. Minister of Power Mr. Adebayo Adelabu said on Monday that the federal government had not found the antidote to the frequent collapse of the national grid, a development that shuts down power supply to the whole country many times in 2024. He told senators in Abuja that there was no guarantee that the system would not continue to crash in 2025 as long as insecurity, vandalism and poor infrastructure remained the major threats to the grid. Adelabu, who appeared before the Senate Committee on Power in Abuja on Monday to defend the power sector budget for 2025, also disputed the widely quoted figure that the country's national grid collapsed 12 times in 2024, representing at least one collapse in each of the 12 months of the year. I'm sure most of us are actually saying that. Faulting the figure, the minister said the grid collapsed only 8 times and not 12 times as always reported. He said to achieve a permanent end to grid collapse would require concerted efforts, including tackling insecurity and the frequent vandalism of power infrastructure. There is no guarantee that there will be no more grid collapse. What we can do is to make sure that it is minimal and that after a collapse, we rectify it as quickly as possible, the minister stated. He told the committee that the ministry was working assiduously with security agencies to manage the situation and restore the system back to work as soon as another collapse occurred. So anytime we see a grid collapse, we should just know, okay, in 5 minutes it's going to restore back. But we should not be hopeful that the grid will not collapse anymore. Well, quickly, Mr. Ayetamono, I would love to get your thoughts concerning this. What do you have to say, please?
We can't excuse our failures like this. We can't excuse our failures like this because the opinion actually does not give much hope. The much hope which Nigerians desire at this point in time. There are certain things that are very clear in the statement. The Nigerians are also very watchful. Nigerians are watchful. Nigerians are also very observant. When Nigerians said, in fact, when we had the 12th collapse of the national grid as reported by the media, many Nigerians actually said that that number was correct.
Did we not? Did we count it?
Yes.
Was it actually 12?
As it collapses, people
were counting it. So it was 12 actually. But the minister said instead
yes,
it's
just also good.
percent.
Anyway, from the point of view of the power sector, that's the power ministry, that they are now telling us that out of the 12, they can only own up 8.
Okay.
And that 5 of these were actually a total collapse, while 3, 3 were partial collapse. The important thing here is that they admitted that there's a